Welcome to another episode of This Isn't About Me. And I'm so excited to be joined by my friend Blair today to talk all things. Well, we'll talk a lot probably about resilience and all the things that Blair does. I'm so excited to have this conversation. I'm going to let you introduce yourself per usual. Just dive right in and we'll just see what happens with the conversation. Thanks for being here.
Oh my God, Leanne, thank you so much. I met you before COVID
Yes.
and we had a really great experience, and we can talk about that later. So I'll let
Yeah,
people
we
know who I
can.
am, but I'm just really excited that our friendship has prevailed and
Mm.
surpassed COVID, and that we got to be popsicle bunkmates recently. And we can talk more about that also. But hi, I'm Blair Kaplan Venables. I'm a social media marketing expert and resilience thought leader. I'm the founder of the Global Resilience Project. I'm a motivational speaker, lover of cats, camping, traveling, live music. Live in Canada, up in British Columbia. Born and raised Winnipeg, Manitoba. And what else? That's very high level.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
I love it. Short, sweet, concise.
just like me.
So all the short, sweet, and concise.
Someone yesterday was like, Blair, I love how direct you are. I'm like, well, we don't need to make a 10-minute conversation an hour.
Right. Yeah. If you don't need to, then don't do it.
Yeah.
Perfect. We could talk about all those things. Um, Social media management, resilience,
Yeah.
living in Canada.
Oh, all the things. I mean, my
All
life
the
is just
things
one
we could
big
talk about camp.
Honestly, my life is just one big story. People are like, what is going on? Like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, my life is so weird and painful and beautiful and everything in between. I was just in Winnipeg, my hometown. I was there to speak. I was on a bit of a speaking tour, and
Mhm.
I was hanging out with my baba. So my mom and dad are no longer here, and we'll get to that probably. But
Yes,
I
we
was hanging out
will.
with my dad's mom. She's 89. And, she was just telling me how proud she was of me. And wow, what an interesting life you live. Because it's not a conventional life. And
Yeah.
it's really cool because as a little girl, I was always really creative. And I always had such big ideas. And I was like, how can I make a living off my ideas?
Hmm.
And I figured it out.
Um, I love I love this even as a topic of conversation, quite honestly, because I was I was recently talking on another episode with Julie Cole about just we were actually talking about how sometimes we get lost and swept up in like parenthood and entrepreneurship, and if we once we kind of come out of some of those things, her selling the business, or if anyone, you kind of step out of your business or sell it, or like once your kids go to college or you go through a separation or whatever, that you're sort of left with this like, who am I and what do I do? And I'm personally in a place of that, of like figuring out who I am. But I also love the idea of just like making this wild, crazy life of, just like creating whatever you want. And I love that we can do that these days. And, we were sort of talking about how it's easy to just kind of like get swept up in like the things that are like
Mhm.
typically societally normal, and our typical jobs, or our like these roles we fill. And so I just feel like I particularly love that, like, you've given yourself permission to sort of live this unconventional life and are just like going at it and attacking it. And that's really freaking cool to me. And I'm like,
Mm.
give me all of that and teach me your ways. And
Thank
I want
you.
to do that. And I want to
Okay.
be you when I grow up.
You don't though.
I
You
don't
don't.
I don't for certain reasons, but
Okay.
in this instance, I want to be
Yeah.
you when I grow up.
So I never thought I would be a 37 childless parentless, sober bird watcher living in Kamloops, British Columbia. Like,
Okay.
but here I am.
Fair.
Like, this is
Fair.
none of this was in the plan.
Right. Fair. Yes.
Not even the way my life has, the turns it's taken. And something I've really realized, especially in sobriety, like I'm over 4 years sober, is like I really got to know who I am. And, losing both my parents plus a bunch of other things that happened, you really learn who you are and who you aren't. And you start to just cut out can I swear?
Yes.
You just start to cut out the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not a parent. Like I have cats and I'm like the cool aunt to all my friends' kids and my family. And, and I'm a mother in a different way, to the kids and the people in my life. But all of a sudden you blink, and I hear this from parents, if you blink and your kid's a year older and they get older, and like I think that is even true without having kids. It's like, how is it spring already? It was just winter and I'm not complaining. And like, where is the time going, and how am I almost 40, and does that mean I'm almost 50? Am I almost 100? Like, where is the time going? And we don't have endless amounts of time. Time is one of the most precious resources. And both my parents died. My mom died at 62. My dad died at 66, I think. Oh, I don't know. In his mid 60s, both within a year. Plus, right before my mom passed away, my father-in-law passed away in his 60s. Like, if I'm almost 40, that gives me about 20 years. Like, at this rate, 20
I
years
know.
left. And I got
I
shit to
know.
do.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot, right? And my brother passed away when he was 21. I was 12. And it's funny, like how I actually wrote a paper in college after I turned 22, that until I think I turned 22, I had a fear that I was going to die at 21. Like that fear kind of went away a little bit when my sister passed 21,
Mhm.
but then it didn't fully dissipate until I passed it. And it's interesting, and it really, like, when you lose people that are close to you like that, it puts a whole lot of things in perspective and a whole lot of like rush on your life, I feel like.
I just like, I love traveling. There's places I want to go. And like all of my trauma, I've turned into like purpose. Like I've turned my pain into purpose. And I don't know how much time I have left. And I'm not trying to pack it all in. But what am I going to do? Like, I don't have kids. I'm not going to sit around and learn to knit scarves. Like,
Why not?
no, thank you. I mean, I do love arts and crafts, and maybe one day I'll crochet or knit. But, I just like, I'm on this earth for a bigger reason.
Yes, you
And I
are.
don't know how long my life is. And maybe I'll be here till I'm 100. Like, I don't want to be here till I'm 100. Like, let me just like live my purpose, make a difference, help people. And, that's the goal. And not sit around and wish I did this and wish I did that, because like I can do it. And
Yeah.
you can make it happen. There's always a way to make extra money. There's always a way to find more time, or make time in your schedule. Like, boundaries, saying no to certain things and saying yes to certain things. And like, we actually are in more control than we know and that we
Mm-hmm.
think, but we're not in control of when we go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't know when that day is.
Right. Yeah. I love that a lot. I'm like, all right. Okay, you have my brain like working through
Like,
this.
I have like a really crazy trip coming up. And like saying it out loud is just like, what am I doing? Like, can I even afford to do this? Like, how am I going to work? But we donated to a children's center in Ghana. So mid-May, I'm going to Ghana, Africa for a week.
Oh my
I'm going
gosh.
to travel around there and lead
Amazing.
some workshops and visit the center. And then I'm going to Uganda for like an entrepreneur trip. And then from Uganda, I'm going to Croatia for I'm meeting a different entrepreneur group I'm a part of. And then my sister's meeting me and we're traveling. And I'm going to be gone for a month. And I'm not like, there's portions of that trip I will be unavailable, but I have responsibility. My goal before then is to onboard my OBM and VA so that I can have support while I'm gone. But like, yeah, like, let's see what, my remote on the road in Africa and Croatia adventure is going to be like, while learning and being philanthropic and like experiencing these three new parts of the world, because Ghana and Uganda are different parts of Africa, while running a business and with different time zones. Like, I'm interested to see what unfolds.
That's amazing. Are you connected with Jill from camp?
I know her, but this is not through her.
Connected with her. I just learned that she does like service trips with entrepreneurs and does coaching around that. And I think that is like so freaking fascinating, and I'm sort of obsessed now.
Yeah, I mean, like,
her vision. And so it was just reminding me of that, and I was just thinking of how cool that is. And
yeah,
yeah,
like,
that's amazing.
I've moved my Peloton bike, you can see, into my office. So I use it more because there's going to be a lot of hiking. Like, I think in Uganda, we like track gorillas and hike volcanoes. And like, I want to have the endurance. And I live in the mountains and like I'm hiking and stuff, but like I want to get my cardio up. I'm strength training. So like I'm in like training mode.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Cause I love hiking. And if I'm going to be in like someone, like, who knows when I'm going to be back there? Like, I want to go on hikes. I want to see waterfalls. I want to go through jungles. Like, I want to,
Yeah. Yes to waterfalls. That's like so high
yeah.
on my list.
Yeah.
I want to see all
All
the
water.
waterfalls. Yeah, all the
Yeah.
waterfalls. Well, that's amazing. That's exciting. I can't wait to follow along your journey. Hopefully you have a little bit of internet at some time.
Oh,
You can update us.
yeah. I mean, for sure in the Africa part, I probably will have my data off and I will have Wi-Fi. Like, there is internet, especially like I'm going to be traveling around, and I'm assuming any accommodation I'm at has internet. But if not, then I don't.
Then not. Yeah. Then you'll just be a mystery.
But I will be documenting it. Like, that's what I do with my
Right.
life. Instagram, Blair from Blairland, like, and Facebook, like that. There's what I'm up to. This is what I'm doing.
I love watching your adventures. And yes, I mean it is what you do for work, right? Like this is your living, social media management, right?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm also transitioning to like have a big arm of my business and revenue come from speaking.
Yes. I love that. I know I was just gonna say I feel like we were talking about transitioning out of social media stuff. And stepping back into speaking a little bit more. And I know you have a big goal that I've seen you post on social media of your impact, right?
Yeah, how I want to empower 88 million people by August
Yes.
2025. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
just a tiny goal. It's fine, no
but I
big
think I'm
deal.
going to hit it this summer. Like,
That's
when,
amazing.
because I signed a TV deal, and
Yes.
my story of resilience is going to be featured on a new TV show and like a segment of one of the episodes. And it's going to be out on Amazon Prime, and the viewership on Prime is more than 88 million. And it's going to be also probably on a few different other like platforms to watch. So I hit my goal 2 years early.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That is
Yeah.
amazing. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Global Resilience Project and all the work that you've done, and share a bit of your story?
Yeah, I'd love to. So just a bit of a content warning. I mean, I should have done this in the beginning because I've already talked about death, but I'm going to be talking about death and addiction. If this triggers you and you need to walk away from the podcast, pause it, walk away. If you need support, my contact info is going to be below this in the show notes. Reach out to me and I'll help you find the right support that you need. I'm a professional human, not a therapist.
Yeah.
And so I am the daughter of a man who lived with addiction and a child of divorce. And so I was really close with my dad until my dad's addiction got so bad that he sold his business. He was a gemologist and diamond dealer, and he divorced my mom and left the family because his addiction was so bad. He was addicted to cocaine and then like injecting and then crack. And yeah, it's bad. And so he was in and out of my life. He couldn't parent. I didn't know at the time that he was living with addiction, that he was sick. I thought he stopped loving me because no one sat down and explained what was happening. So as
Yeah.
you can imagine, being a 7-year-old girl who's dad, like I was a daddy's girl, all of a sudden my dad's not in my life. And like he says he's going to come show up to my birthday party, but doesn't. And I wait by the door for him, or says he's going to pick me up for family time. And then he's running late and then running late and running late and then doesn't come. You think like, what the fuck? Like my
Mm-hmm.
dad doesn't love me. And so growing up, I had a lot of, well, I still am like very insecure, and abandonment issues, trust issues, anxious, depressed, and a whole slew of other things. And it was a really hard upbringing for me. I'm really lucky. My mom was fantastic. It was me, my mom, and sister. We had a lot of really great support from, like, I grew up in the Jewish community in Winnipeg. We had a lot of great support from our friends and families in the community, our grandparents and aunts and uncles. Like, we were really supported. It was just still really difficult. And I do recognize
Yeah.
I come from a place of privilege.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to put that out there. Like, this is just my story and my experience. And I know, everyone has their own journey. And I am really lucky that I had the support network that I did.
Yeah.
So, in my 20s, I was given the tools that I needed to forgive my dad. And I remember just calling him and just saying, I want to say sorry. I'm sorry I ever wished you to die. Like, I just want to say that, like, I'm just going to accept you for who you are and stop trying to put you in make you be the father that I wanted. And I'm going to accept whatever relationship you can give me. And I let go of expectations.
What are you comfortable, or do you want to share what you mean by you were given the tools to do that
Yeah,
now?
I can't really go into that because so I was at this thing called the Landmark Forum, and it's like a personal development thing. And Lululemon, the company I worked for at the time, sent me there. And it was like I was living in Edmonton at the time, Alberta, and it was a trip to Vancouver. And I was in my early 20s and my best friend had moved to Vancouver. So I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I was like, free trip to Vancouver. Who cares about personal development? So I can't even remember the like segment or what we were working on that like made it click, but something clicked and I called my dad
Mm-hmm.
on a break.
Yeah.
So like I can't tell you what the tools were, but who cares at this
Yeah.
point,
Yeah. I
right?
mean, yeah, I was just curious if like what that I don't think we've ever talked about that. Like what
I don't,
that
it's because I don't
point in
know.
time was.
I like that was like a whole blackout period for me. It was like, I
Yeah.
came out of a shell.
Yeah. That's
But ever
beautiful though. I love that. Like
yeah, and
that
ever
you were
since that
able to
moment,
learn that so early.
well, he began his journey from that moment on to like harm reduction, doing less drugs, being more present in the life of his parents, his family, my sister. It was a really big breakthrough.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
he got to walk me down the aisle at my
I love that.
wedding, and he would come visit me. He lived in Winnipeg in the middle of Canada, and he would come visit me in BC a couple times a year. Like, it was amazing. And
Yeah.
like I didn't know him. I had to get to know him.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky that I did that because at the end of 2018, we learned he was terminally ill.
Yeah. Oof.
So my dad that I have back in my life is now going to die.
Right.
The rug was pulled from beneath my feet. I didn't know what to do. So I started talking. I started just like sharing our story that I never really shared with friends over coffee and whoever would listen, really. And I was sharing our story of his addiction and my forgiveness and our resilience. And our story was inspiring people to seek therapy or fix relationships. Our story was helping people. And so I said, hey, Dad, let's write a book. Let's gather stories of resilience from around the world, and we'll bookend it with your story and my story. So when you're no longer here, our story can still help people. And
Yeah. I love
so
that.
4 years ago, March 2019, the Global Resilience Project was born.
I love that. And the book is beautiful. I got to see it in person and hold it and look through some of the stories. Such a beautiful book. Um,
Oh my gosh. But it took almost like 3.5 years to get out because life got really fucking hard.
do you want to talk about it?
Okay, high level, everyone. Like, I'm okay. Like, I'm fine. Like, I can be better and I will be better. but I'm coming out of some stuff.
Yeah.
But like, just bear with me. What happened? So 2019, beginning of 2019, I start this project. And from that moment until I got the book out last June 2022, my grandfather, who was like my father, passed away. On the way home from his funeral, my husband and I got in a car accident and I sustained a concussion,
Oh,
a brain injury. A couple months later, my husband had a heart attack and quadruple bypass surgery. He almost died. And then it was COVID. We struggled with fertility. I was told I probably couldn't get pregnant naturally. And then a year after Shane's heart attack, we got pregnant naturally, which is like the good news. But the bad news is that we miscarried. And then 3 weeks later, my father-in-law suddenly died from a 3-week battle with cancer. And then 3 months later, my mother suddenly died after a 3-week battle with cancer. And then my dad died in the same year as my mom. So
that
it
is
was really,
insane, Blair.
yeah, yeah, it was like also my cat died, like my mom's cat, which was my cat, like she died, like just lots of, there was other stuff. Those were the big things. And so putting out a book while holding space for other people and their stories while trying to just survive, like that's why the book took so long to get out. But we did a lot of learning along the way, and I learned like how to be resilient. And I chose sobriety, and there's things that you can do to be more resilient when things aren't hard. So when it's hard, life gets hard, you can move through it. Um, but I'd rather not gone through any of that. But I guess it's inevitable. Your parents are going to die,
Right.
and I went through it in a very short period of time. But the book, the Global Resilience Project, the first book came out in June of 2022 and became an international bestseller. And we have stories featured from around the world, 70 stories. And it's a really beautiful tribute to not only my dad, but also my mom and my father-in-law. And it's more than just a book and a legacy project, but we've become a global movement with a podcast called Radical Resilience. And we're working on the second book. And I speak on stages around the world, and I'm here to turn my pain into purpose and to help people be more resilient.
I love it. That is a lot that you went through during also like a global pandemic.
Oh my God.
Is insane. Um, do you want to share any of the bits of building resiliency, or like what you've sort of learned, or
Yeah.
any pieces to maybe help others who might be listening? And I
Yeah.
love the piece particularly about building resiliency in that muscle when you're not in a time of crisis. I probably would not have thought of that on my own had you not just
Yeah.
said that. So already
Yeah.
I've learned something from you. But
Okay, I'll share a
um
couple tips.
okay.
So the reason I say, like, obviously, if you're gonna, like, I'm going to be going to hike volcanoes in Africa. So like I'm training now, I'm getting stronger now. And at the time of what I'm about to share, I didn't know I was training for like the worst few years of my life, but I was. And so in about 2015 or 16, I watched a video, and in this video, it said that, and it's Sean Acor, he, science backed, that he says if you practice gratitude every day, and at the same time every day you list 3 things you're grateful for, and you do this from the past 24 hours, and you do this for at least 21 days, the neural pathways in your brain change, so you see the world more positively. And when I heard that, I was like, that's such a simple thing to do. And so I whipped my phone out, I chose 9 o'clock. I labeled it the gratitude alarm, and it's been going off ever since. I didn't know I was,
Forgot about that.
I did
Yeah.
not know I was strengthening my resilience muscle. I'm pretty sure we actually did it in the cabin when I first met you. We practiced gratitude.
Yeah, we did. Now that you're saying it, I'm like, ah, crap. Yeah, I did learn this in
It's okay, reminder.
2019.
So like
Yeah.
I did it like when Shane was in the hospital every day we did it. Gord, his like very old roommate, healing from his heart surgery. We all did it together. The day before my mom went to sleep for her final time, me, my mom and sister did it. The day my dad passed away, my aunts and uncles and me and my sister stood around doing it. There's always something to be grateful for. Like my dad is like, I'm grateful I was with him for his last breath, and that his brother got to be there, and that we were all together as a family, and and that he was no longer suffering. Like there's always something to be grateful for. And so why not open up your phone right now, pick a time, have it go off every single day, and you and everyone who you're with at that time will list what you're grateful for. 3 things from the past 24 hours. So like, maybe it is sunny out today. So maybe it's the sunshine and I had a headache and I'm grateful for Advil and I'm grateful for Leanne for inviting me on her podcast. Like there's always something. And so I like to do it at 9 o'clock because it's my end of day. And if I have a crappy day, which is like, happens, clearly I just shared.
Yeah.
It's a great way to end the day. I'm forced to think about 3 things that are, I'm grateful for. And I really contribute me surviving, me pushing through, bouncing forward. That's how I define resilience, bouncing forward from a challenge. A lot of it has to do with the gratitude practice.
Yeah. Yeah. So powerful. I think I did that for like 3 days.
Your alarm, you shut your alarm off.
I apparently did. I actually am not sure I even set an alarm, Blair.
So pull out your phone right now, Leanne, and let's set an
Right.
alarm.
All right. I'm doing it.
So some people like to do it in the morning. If you have kids, maybe you do it at family dinner. Like my friends do roses and thorns from their day, like one rose, like one good thing and one, thorn. But the science says if you do this and you practice gratitude every day at the same time and you list 3 things you're grateful for, the neural pathways in your brain start to change. So that's why the exercise is the way it is. After I share what I went through, a lot of people just look at me and I'm like, well, I had a choice. Like I can give up or I can push through. And because I've pushed through, I've made a global movement. I've created a global movement. I signed a TV deal and I'm going to be on Amazon Prime. I was on a billboard in Times Square. Like I'm helping people's lives change because I didn't give up.
Right. I love that. Yeah, I love that. I set my alarm. It's set for 8:30 at night because I'm usually in bed at that time.
Perfect. That's perfect.
I'm basically an old lady.
Yeah.
We did go for a little period of time when my son was in kindergarten. My older son was in kindergarten. We used to lay in bed at night and list off like the 3 best parts of our day.
Yeah.
Not gratitude specifically, but we did used to do that. And then, life got crazy with splitting with 2 kids and we kind of stopped doing that. But we every once in a while will bring that back. And I tell him, lunch and recess don't count.
Yeah.
I want you to actually think a little bit deeper about it and give it some actual thought on what the best parts of the day were. And the cute thing was like after a couple of weeks, he started making me do it with him too. So he'd be like, well, what was your favorite part of the day? So it was a good practice for both of us, but we definitely fell off that wagon, sadly. Yeah. Just with the craziness of life as it is. And kids are usually chatty at bedtime, which was why it was a good time at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love that. That's great. Well, you're going to get back into it.
We're going to get back into it. I do. Hopefully I'll maybe bring them into it if and when I can too, when they're here. Yeah. Because I also, I think especially kids, my older one's like in the like I hate school phase right now. So
yeah.
I feel like building that resiliency muscle would be a good thing right about now. 10-year-old.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of different ways like to build resilience. I'll just share one other way. Sharing your story. Like you can't process your feelings and emotions by keeping everything inside. Maybe this looks like getting a journal and writing out how you feel when you have big feelings, or start every day. Like I have a journaling practice almost every day. I journal in the morning, especially if I have dreams, I write them down. I share my feelings if I'm frustrated. You can get a therapist or a counselor. You can talk to someone around you, maybe a partner or a parent or a friend. You can talk to yourself in front of the mirror, or, share your story in a book. But sharing your story helps you heal. And you don't have to share your story publicly, but getting your story out of you makes room for healing.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you share your story publicly, like on a podcast or in a book, your story will help someone else navigate their challenge because you've already gotten through it. You are on the other side of it. And I'm sure if you're listening to this and you've been through something really hard, it feels really lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we share, it helps to normalize the shitty parts of life because it happens. Like my miscarriage, grief, sobriety, my parents dying. Like I talk about these things and it's not anything to hide because it's real life. And I'm normalizing the conversations about grief because we don't talk about it enough. So when it happens, we feel like we're in a car accident. And like you're still going to feel that way, but at least you can prepare a bit.
Yeah.
So, sharing your story is really important, and getting, depending on what you're going through in life, like I'm a big supporter of therapy. Like I love therapy. I've done traditional, non-traditional grief therapy, and everything in between. And like, I'm on a lifelong journey to heal. So sharing your story is another way to be resilient.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in a very unrelated way, but there's a lot of like there's permission in feeling more normal when you can hear or see that other people feel, experience, look like you do, right? And in my story, unrelated to the depths of that, you know, your story, but um I got a breast reduction years ago. And I had been waiting since I was like 19 to do this. I was like, I'm going to do it once I have my kids and I'm done having my kids. And it was always a piece of me that I was very like self-conscious and uncomfortable about. And a friend of mine who actually had augmentation had sent me to a website called The Real Self, and where people can and do um, share their plastic surgery journey with pictures, and unfiltered. It's like people's real bodies, and you get to see all these bodies. And for the first time in my life, I was like, oh my gosh, like my breasts are not weird, or like there's other people out there who look like me. And it was so like, I don't know, like it was such like a weight lifted to know that I didn't look weird and like I wasn't built differently, or like other people looked exactly the same way I do. Because what other like reference do we ever have most of the time if you're not, I don't date women, I date men. So like I don't see a lot of boobs out there in the wild to
Right?
see
Yeah.
that other people look like I do. And it was so like freeing for me to recognize that I wasn't alone. And conversely, it was really interesting to me because I could never fathom someone getting implants. And so I popped over to like the implant side of the website, and all of a sudden it opened my mind to see, women that are completely flat chested. And I'm like, I get it. I understand why you would want to go the other way, right? Like it was so unfathomable to me at the time to think
Hmm.
of someone trying to have big boobs, because I was like, I'm trying to get rid of mine, right?
Hmm.
But just to like have that avenue and have that experience, and just to see and to hear and to feel that you're not alone in your worries or what you're scared of, or the journey that you're going through, or doctors that maybe aren't listening to you, or all of those things. Like the more people talk about it and the more we can share it, the easier it becomes for the next person that comes along.
Yeah. And like it's like a bridge from loneliness to community.
Yeah.
And your story is that pathway.
Yeah, I love
So,
that.
yeah. And thanks for sharing that story.
Yeah, I did not anticipate that was going to come up on any episode of this podcast, but here we are. And I mean, I've shared it on my own Facebook page over the years, and I've had a few people that have reached out to me to ask my experience, right? And I'm happy to share that I went through it and, what my experience was, and that, I'm happy that I did it, and the scars don't bother me, and I had a really great doctor and all those things, and I love, being, I don't know, an example, whatever you want to call it, for other people who are considering doing something like that, right?
Yeah.
And similar to the way you share your story, it allows, I'm sure you've had gazillions of people that have come to you because you've been so open with your story.
Yeah, a lot of people have reached out, strangers, friends, and everyone in between.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Um, so now so now you're transitioning into speaking and hopefully making a career, making that your career, right? Is that the goal sort
So,
of?
yeah, my Blair Kaplan Communications isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like that is going to continue to grow and thrive. And I'll be bringing on a team. I'm slowly building out a team, very slowly.
It takes time.
Because
It's hard to find people that,
well, yeah, I mean, it's just about knowing what to delegate and
yeah.
what to do and figuring out that and then finding the people who excel at what you need. And I'm not in a rush to do any like I'm in a position where I don't want to turn down work, where over the years I've had to turn down work, and I'd like to just grow my agency that way. And
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of very talented people out there. So my goal is to be a globally recognized thought leader in resilience in the next couple of years. Like by the time I'm 40, that was like part of my 88 million. And, I do, travel around the world because I am going to be speaking about resilience and social media when I'm in Africa and in Ghana. And I was just on a speaking tour. So I already have started the journey. And in a perfect world, like my time would be spent traveling and teaching people about resilience and writing, working on my next book and writing articles for publications. And it's really cool because people submit their stories of resilience. And so now I have a lot of data. I have a lot of
Hmm.
really cool information about people's situations and how they navigated them. And I'm excited to kind of dive into those analytics, and I'm, going to hire someone to help me with that because like that's not my space. I don't know how to do that, but it's I don't know. I mean, I'm on this journey and I don't have any specific like buy whens or goals, but I'm starting to speak a lot more. I just booked something in Detroit for the summer and I'm looking at filling up my fall, and it's really cool to see that like we're now working like towards next winter because people book far out. And I do have the expertise to talk about social media. I created something called the Social Media Empowerment Pillars for thought leadership. And I teach people how to be seen as a thought leader. And I love that. And I'm very passionate about it. And I'm very passionate about helping people be resilient. So there's kind of a place for me in both worlds, especially because they all tie together with storytelling.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's interesting because I feel like I know so many like multi-passionate entrepreneurs, as I call myself and others. And also interesting, you're like the perfect little little brilliant mix here of like the social media part. I feel like a lot of people struggle with like bringing multiple things together. At least I know I do. I've talked to some other people who do as well, who are where they're kind of different worlds. Um, but I personally am like, I just want to like just be me and all of me, which is multi-passionate and is confusing and is like a lot
you
of
know, I
things.
I think you can. I mean, you are you. I tell people to show up and do what you want, when you want, how you want on social media. I'll teach you how to make a strategy, but people don't need you to show up and sell your product. People want to get to know you because people do business with people they like, know, and trust. And if that means like you have this secret passion for knitting hats for monkeys, then, let people in and share that. And who cares if it has nothing to do with your business? Like people want to
Yeah.
get to know you because that's what makes you different from everyone else in the industry is you. So how are you showing you? How are you showing up as you? Yeah, you're going to sell a little bit here and there, but like people want to know what you're up to and what's going on behind the scenes. And, you know, when you show people how much work goes into what you're doing and how messy it is, there's more of an appreciation for what they see in the polished feed.
Mm, yeah. I'm like, I'm really bad at documenting stuff.
You got to get in the habit. It's a habit, right? Maybe it
Oh,
means
yeah, I'm so
like,
bad at I'm like, what would I even like post about or talk about? But as you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, I could have been talking about prepping for this, right? Or like just even
yep,
talking
there's,
about getting
you
onto this.
know, you can, you know, you can like show what you're up to for the day. Like sometimes I have 10 meetings and I'll be like training, meeting, podcast. And like sometimes like, whoa, today's going to be a long day. And then throughout the day, I'm like documenting it. And then maybe I finally take a break. I mean, you could choose what you document maybe, and it doesn't have to be every day, all day,
Yeah.
but getting in the habit of it is good. Like, you know, you're doing something cool. Like you're getting ready to go to an event, you know, you're at the event, people you meet at the event, tagging them, you know, after the event, recapping it.
Ugh, I'm so bad about all those things, Blair. So bad. I just went out on like my little annual date with my son. My town does this annual alumni dinner, like this big raffle, and he is like the raffle prize winner. Newly, this started last year, but he literally was asking since last year, like when this dinner was again. So it was this past Saturday, and I left. I actually think I was like laying in bed that night and I was like, I did not take one single picture the whole time.
Mm,
Because I'm also like, for me, it's hard because there's also a balance between just like being present and having your phone away and
mm-hmm.
not getting distracted and capturing the moments.
So
But like
when
it
I'm
was just like our
on,
little date night. And I'm like, I didn't even capture for myself to remember our little date night.
when I'm in situations like I want to be present, but I want to document it, I put my phone in airplane mode and my phone just becomes a camera.
Mm,
You don't need to post right away. You can take a picture and post it 3 months from now.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah. Like we don't need to be connected all the time,
Right.
but we
Yeah,
have cameras in our pockets.
I know. I know. I just struggle
Yeah.
with
That's okay.
pulling it out like that. I'm like, ah.
And yeah, it's okay. Like if you don't do it, you don't do it. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's just a good way to grow your community is by letting people into the world of Leanne.
Yeah. Should probably do that more. I know. I think we talked about this when we were together, but I follow like I follow Jillian Harris and like am obsessed with her and so much is because she is super real and she like documents everything. So you're just like along for the ride of her life all the time. And I'm like, this is literally my dream. And also she has such a empire that sort of spans everything, right? She has like a cookbook and she's a designer and she's like has a subscription box and she has all this like random sort of stuff, quote unquote, but it all goes under her brand. And I'm like, that is
Mm-hmm.
the dream. Like that is literally my dream.
Mm-hmm.
But she's so good
So
about
do it. You
documenting
have
all
to
the
start
things.
somewhere.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you know, she shows up without makeup. So do I. Like, you know, so you can do that too. Like, it's not about being polished, it's about being a human.
Right. Yeah. All right.
You can do it. Oh man. Well, yeah, I know social media is kind of like it's like a blessing and a curse, but it's how I built my career. And I had so much support going through all the stuff I went through from the people on there because I showed up and I shared not only the shit that I was navigating, but like what I was doing in business. Cause when you're an entrepreneur, you don't get bereavement. And I didn't have
Right.
anyone to delegate. There was no capacity to train. Some stuff fell off my plate and I was honest about it, but I still showed up for speaking engagements and did what I could. And because I did that and showed people all the things I was up to, like my childhood bedroom and selling my mom's house and people came along for the ride with me, but they were also able to see what I was able to do
Yeah.
and how I showed up.
Yeah.
And I think it took people into like what life is like with grief and being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, I remember those posts. I remember now, like, as you're saying it, I remember you posting about that stuff. I
Hmm.
vividly remember that.
Yeah. And so like doesn't have to be the good stuff. And you get to choose, right? Like my husband is more private. Like I don't talk about the highs and the lows, but every so often, like he makes an appearance on my social and I always ask permission. But like there's so many things in life. Like our garden's starting to grow in the front of our house. Like I just rearranged my office. I'm gonna give you guys a tour of it on Instagram. I have to put my art up and like gotta get it framed. I'm gonna need help. Like I don't know how to design. My carpet is brown and like from the 80s and it's disgusting. Like should I buy a rug and cover it? A circle rug, a square rug? I mean, my husband might just make it into floor when I go to Africa, which is what I hope. But like I don't know. I like people helping me. Like how, like my cat's breath smells. Like why? How do I make it not stink? Oh, there's always someone out there with advice.
That's true. People do have a lot of advice to give. That is very true.
Yeah.
They
So
like
I
to
don't
be
know.
involved.
But yeah, I mean, social media is really cool. And social media, knowing what I know, is how I was able to launch the Global Resilience Project and grow it to where it is and get, in Forbes and Entrepreneur and Maxim and USA Today and on a billboard and all that stuff. And I think, it's actually really doable for anyone. It's about creating a strategy and following the strategy.
And actually doing the things.
Yeah, like doing the work. Showing up is half the battle for anything, right? So it's about showing up and doing the work.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Um, anything we haven't covered?
I don't know
I feel
what.
like this was a really good conversation.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything else you want to know.
I mean, all the
Mm,
things. No, so you're working on book 2. Have you
yes. Oh,
closed all the submissions for it? I saw it went live
yeah.
a couple
So
months ago.
submissions are open. So you can go to the globalresilienceproject.com and you hit the button that says submit your story. And there you can learn more about it. So when you become a co-author, you're part of the co-author collective. You fill out a form and we put your story together really beautifully. It's a beautiful coffee table style book. And you become part of our private Facebook group and you get access to different trainings and networking and other publicity opportunities. And my job is to help amplify your story in your community, in your city, in your world, in my world. And, there's only 125 spots. So applications are open. I do anticipate them filling up. Fingers
For
crossed. There
sure.
is
Yeah.
a cost to being in the book because there's a cost to making a book. I don't make money from the book. Just want to be very clear. Proceeds from the book go to paying the people I have to hire to help me put the book together, the
Mhm.
editor, the designer, other team members. And we do use a portion of the proceeds from the book for our philanthropic work. So I don't make money from the book. I make money. And you too. You don't make money from the book. No one makes money from the book, but you will become a best-selling author because all the books I've published have become best-selling books. And because I'm going to be on Amazon Prime with the story of our community, your story is going to have a lot of reach and a lot of leverage. And my job is to teach you how to maximize that. And if you don't want to have your name associated with it and you want to help people be resilient, you don't have to have your name and picture associated with it. But it's a really fun, beautiful project. And yeah, book 2, I wasn't going to do another book, but I was on vacation and my first vacation since before Shane's heart attack. And I had a dream. And in my dream, my mom came to tell me how proud she was of me. And I was just getting ready to publish the second book. So I
I
woke
love
up and I was
that.
like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, we're doing it.
And it's happening right now. So, if you want to be in the book, go apply. If you have questions, if you go to my website, it's very easy to get in touch with me. You can set up a call with me or reach out to me. And, we can chat if this is the right opportunity for you. I do believe every story deserves to get told. If $888, which is the fee, is not possible for you, and we have 6-month and 12-month payment plans, we still have an option for you to share your story and we'll publish it on our website for no cost because every story deserves to get told.
I love that. What a
Yeah.
beautiful mission. I see the book sitting there. Do you want to like just quickly flip through it as people can on the if you're on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube and you're just listening,
See,
then
it's like really
it's
pretty.
so
So you
beautiful.
know
I
what we're
love
gonna
the book.
do? So like the first book, this book, I put it out, I limped across the finish line. Like I was in battle. Everyone died. And so I'm actually gonna do a relaunch of this. I'm going to do a relaunch, and when I relaunch it, it's going to be the goals this summer in July to do a relaunch. And with that relaunch, I want to release a hardcover version and an Audible version, which we don't have right now. And we're going to be doing the same for the second book. It's going to be hardcover, soft cover, and Audible version. And, people get inspired from the book. And it's not just a book with words, like it's a beautiful, inspirational piece of art, really.
Yeah, it is beautiful. I've held it in my hands and seen it. It will be extra beautiful with a hardcover.
Yeah, I can't wait.
For some weird reason, I thought it was a hardcover.
Well, I
already.
wanted to do hardcover, and my editor at the time was like, "You can't do hardcover," and it just like there was a reason, but that's in the past.
We're only looking forward now.
We're only looking forward. So yeah, we're gonna do a relaunch.
I love it. Yeah,
and so that's gonna be really fun. And so that means like I'll be connecting to all the authors and the people in the first book and helping them re-amplify and get really excited about it, and to help draw attention to the second book and share stories of people who are coming into the community.
Awesome. And then do you have, besides like the author community, is there a community for resilient?
What do you know? On Instagram and Facebook, it's Global Resilience Community.
Okay, well, there we go.
And yeah, that's a place where we share content, inspirational content, what's going on in the books, the podcast. And, it's a place to gather. And, we were doing events before the pandemic, and we might do events in the future. And there's a whole bunch of things that we're looking at doing. And Alana, my sister, she's the mental health director, and I just launched a merchandise line.
Ooh, yeah.
And so we have some fun shirts. You can get like sweaters, like crew necks or t-shirts, hats, mugs. Some of them just have the logo. One's called Good Grief, and we donate proceeds to Camp Erin, which is a camp that helps kids who have lost someone close to them. So we're donating a portion of proceeds to that. We have shirts that say Dead Parents Society. And what's funny about that is the tagline is the club that no one wants to join.
Oh,
and then we also have shirts that say Resilient AF.
Oh, well, I love it all, although the society shirt makes me just sad.
Yeah, but once it happens, I mean, like, you get it. It's funny. The people who've reached out, like, have all lost parents, are like, "Oh, I want that shirt." It's like, it's like the secret club that, like, you can't explain to someone who hasn't lost a parent what it's like.
Right.
Have you lost a parent?
No.
There's no way for you to understand it until you unfortunately go through it. And like, it's like a part of you dies and you become this like grown up that you didn't ever think was like, it's its own thing. And when you're in this club that is like, unfortunately, everyone's going to be in, but no one wants to be in.
Right.
Now we have a shirt so we could all be in it together.
In the club together. I mean, I love it, but
I know it's funny. Like some of the people that have made comments about it making them uneasy are ones who have parents who are alive.
Yeah.
And like, that's fine. You know what? Like my sister and I have dark humor. We're using the proceeds from the clothing, the merch to fund the project. Like the first book I fully funded, and it was a lot of money to put a book out. It's not free. And so we're coming up. Yeah, we're coming up with creative ways to help fund the project. So
yeah, I love it. And I love like your guys' little empire over there. I love seeing it get built and get bigger and have bigger reach and just continue to blow up. It's so cool. It's so much fun to watch you bloom and blossom and grow since I met you in 2019.
While I was concussed.
Oh my God. I mean,
I really appreciate the support and friendship. Like it's super cool, especially because we're like not in the same part of the world.
I know. But I was just talking to Julie about just how much fun camp is and what a good experience and how like I've made a lot of friends through that. And personally, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I need to get back out and going to events again. It's been way too long. And I'm like, I need that energy back in my life. And I loved being at camp. I don't know if I told you, but I got COVID right after camp.
Oh gosh. Oh
So I'm
man.
glad no one else in our cabin got COVID. I don't know how or where it even came from, but yeah, that was super fun.
Oh
Um,
no.
right after camp, but my favorite, my favorite bunkmate, Miss
We
Blair.
I love that we got to, so yeah, we met because we were in the same cabin at like camp. It was Tailwind, but now it's Dovetail. And so we got to be in a cabin twice, and it was awesome. Like being in there, and Alana was in there, and it was just really fun. And there was still mice. Like the first time Stormy Daniels, we named the mouse Stormy Daniels. She came back. There was mice in there, but we had a better cabin. We had a cabin with a lake view this
Yeah,
time.
we had a nice
And
big cabin. I love that we got to like be together again. That was so fun.
it
That
was
was
so
such a
funny
fun
because it was a
surprise.
little colder than we all thought. And the first
Just a
night when we
little.
became popsicles, it was just so funny because like it was just like we were wearing all the clothes.
Like literally all the clothes and stealing blankets
It was
and
good.
all the things. Like the best moment I think for me from this year's camp was laying on the dock in the sunshine the next day when I felt like my body finally like could thaw out a
Oh,
little
when we were
bit.
sitting down by the fire pit, it was like
Hmm.
me, you, and the fire was going.
Yeah, in the
Lana was there,
sunshine
Jam.
and just
Yeah,
like
thawing out.
thawing out and like feeling my body again for the
Yeah.
first time.
That was just all really fun. Like whatever that it was
So
cold. Like
much
I'm from
fun.
Winnipeg. Like it's fine. I just yeah, I love it. And it's cool because Alexis did a good job of bringing the right people together, and I got to become
Yeah.
friends with you.
Yeah, and here we are 4 years later, and I love it.
Oh,
We will leave all the links to all the things, of course, Blair's bio and all the ways you can follow her and connect with her and follow along her social media for this incredible trip over to Africa and Croatia. So excited for you. Be safe.
thanks.
Enjoy
Yeah,
all the waterfalls.
I will.
I'm so
And
jealous.
yeah, thank you for having me. This was a really lovely chat catching up with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I loved this time together. And yeah, we'll be back for another episode of This Isn't About Me. Have a great day, guys.